Okay, I fixed the problem. It was because I was broadcasting to Rumble at the same time, and Rumble sucks, and it sucks ass, and it clicked out. It always does. Unless you just stream directly to it by itself. And so when that happened, I lost my microphone. So yeah, that pissed me off. So now I gotta start all over. But it's such a great discussion, so I had to come back on and finish it. So I'm Shellie B. The adventures of a conservative black sister surviving in a hot mess world, and it is a hot mess. Live streaming. Okay, so let me recollect my thoughts here. So I was talking about something very serious. Please like, share, and subscribe. All that good stuff. I am Shellie B on everything. It's easy to find. But what I was talking about today is, mental health in the Black community, mainly because of a story that I had heard about a young single mother that had committed suicide. When I heard that story, I really felt like, just weighed heavy on me, and I wanted to really research it a little bit more to figure out, like, you know, what is the problem that young women face, because it was a young woman. I had my son at 40 years old. I was a much more mature person, much more secure in my career. I was able to support my child, and I really have to say I had a good support system. I was able to afford to pay for help, and I had help of friends and stuff like that. So I really wanted to dig deeper to figure out, like, what the problem is, more than that, how to correct the problem. So let me share my screen again, to because this um is what kind of sent me on this deep dive. And then as I looked into this girl's case, it just opened up a window of, like, that our community has a huge mental health problem, and it's generational, and it needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed. Let me see, where's this young. Okay. Alrighty. So I have all these pop-ups in here. I had everything all set up before, and I had to start all over. All right, so here we go. Okay, so this is this young woman. Let me try to remove some of these ads. Um, so this young 21-year-old mother of two post suicide note on Facebook after losing battle with depression before killing herself in a car wreck. So this beautiful young girl right here, 21-year-old mother. I'm not really sure how many children she had, but she was a young mother, and she was posting on social media different issues that she was having. All these pop-ups. A mother of two from Texas has died in a two-vehicle wreck after posting a suicide note to Facebook. Now, I believe this happened in 2021. But it happens often. It happens a good amount of the time. A lot of young people see this as their only way out. Olivia Popham, 21, was driving a 2017 Nissan Sentra and collided with Travis Pittman, 33, of Winona, who was driving a 2012 Ford pickup. Pullman's Nissan reportedly crossed the center line and struck the pickup head on, according to a press release. So this young lady drove her car full speed ahead into another man's vehicle. Thank God this man survived the accident. It just goes to show that this young lady was really troubled, and she was found dead at the scene. Um, oh, she had reportedly been battling an intense depression, and had been posting messages to Facebook in the months leading up to her death. So she was on social media, like, crying out for help, and posting about what she's been going through. And apparently, she didn't get the help she needed. The family also says that she was having major issues with her child's father. Allegedly, I don't know what the issues were with the child's father. I've grown to know that just because a man is not married to the child's mother does not mean he's a part of her life. A lot of these statistics of deadbeat fathers is just stating that they are not married. It's not showing that 50% of men with black men with children, raise their children. So I'm not going to judge this because I don't have all the details surrounding this father, but she posts onto Facebook um having to do this parenthood alone has really made me a lot stronger and shows me that I am capable of doing anything. But at the same time, I want to breathe. I want to be able to go to the restroom at least once without little kids following my ass. I want to be able to sleep in because I don't have to get up just because kids are up. I want a break. And I'm comfortable enough to say that now and don't give a fuck what no one says because I am human. So as a single parent, I understand that, um, you know, and I just can't even imagine a young woman like this that has no support. Like I can't imagine not ever having somebody to, help me with my child or, help me when I need rest and stuff like that. When my son was really small, like when he was a baby, I had one meltdown when he was like almost one, because working and having a small baby at home and coming home and, still trying to breastfeed him, it just got hectic, and I called one of my family members and she kind of laughed at me, but because we see that as like, oh, that's nothing, you got this. They always say, oh, you got it, you can do it, it's fine, but no, I'm not fine. He's crying, I'm crying too. So I can't even imagine this young lady not having any help, you know, um, and she was also getting messages from people threatening to call child services on her, and or they were pretending to be child services. Now I can speak on that because my son father weaponized that against me and was constantly calling child services on me. At least like 3 times he did it. um a lot of the reason why I guess was because he felt that I should be paying him to watch my son, and not be paying someone else to watch the child, and he was just trying to get in the way. So more or less he was really calling them on my nannies, which was horrible because the ladies that were taking care of my child was wonderful ladies, and I just never forgave him for that. That was terrible what he did. um and I was able to find out that it was him doing it in the end. Like I couldn't even believe it. But I say all that to say, these are all things that are very stressful on a mother when you have to deal with this. And whoever was doing this to her, that's terrible. um in one message, she wrote that I believe this was after she decided to commit suicide. She wrote in one message, the mother of two made a passionate appeal for her kids not to be taken away by their father. If anything ever happens to me, do not give my kids to their dad permanently, because if while I was alive you couldn't help take care of them, then why wait till I'm gone, she wrote. So like you can tell right here that I mean, she clearly was troubled and, holding a grudge towards the father. You know, I guess he wasn't taking care of the kids. I don't know. I hope that this situation makes him be a father to the kids, because they really would need a father. But look how many shares she has on this: 999 shares and 250 comments. And still this young girl decides to take her life. And, this post pretty much went viral. And, she still didn't make it. And then she writes her final message on social media was, checking out. I'm sorry, but I can't keep battling depression. The ones that were there, I love y'all. If I do succeed at this, please make sure my kids are okay. So, it's unfortunate. And she did, end up taking her life. And she mentions in there that she was battling depression. And I feel like in our community, a lot of us don't even understand what it is to be depressed. Like, one doctor was stating that we use the word so much that we don't really know what it really means to be depressed. Like, oh, I'm depressed. Oh, I'm tired today, I'm so depressed. Or, oh, my boss gets on my nerves, I'm so depressed. And oh, we're depressed over everything, but really that's not depression. You're just having a bad day, is what the doctor was saying. What's depression is when it really, really affects your ability to function. Like this young lady could not take care of her children. This lady wanted to end her life, but still she never went and got any treatment. She didn't have the support, and I don't know whether or not she knew or tried to get treatment. I really don't know. But I just feel like this young lady, it just really bothered me, that story. And like when I came when I saw that story, I was just thinking like how, as you know, what is the problem that these young girls are facing, out here, and you know, what kind of support could I offer? What kind of advice could I offer? What kind of research could I find to help like make awareness or whatever? And the more I researched it, the more I realized the whole damn community got a damn problem with depression and got mental health problems and stuff like that, and don't really realize that they have it. And it's more of a generational curse for us, that we, suffer with these disorders and, don't do anything about it. You know, a lot of black people are Christian. They're taught to pray for everything. They're not taught to like really be proactive in anything in their lives because Jesus is going to help you and Jesus is going to save you. Meanwhile, your depression gets worse and worse till you commit suicide or go out and shoot somebody or do some crazy shit or get on drugs or whatever. It's just a stupid ideology that needs to go. It really needs to go. And the more that I looked at this, the more that I saw that people really don't really realize what depression is and how it really has, physical effects on the body. I also believe that, a lot of those feelings can also be spiritual occurrences happening to people as well. And so, I just wanted to really, talk about this today because it really, really bothered me that this young woman, you know, decided to just leave her kids, and she had no control over her emotions, and she didn't know what to do, and she didn't get the support that she needed. And I know you, and I just, like when I make these videos, I have to say that, I really make them for anybody to listen to, but oftentimes because I am black, I am thinking about my black people because I know that in society, all these things that I talk about, whether it's politics or things like this, it just affects us completely different than the rest of the population, just 100%. And we all know white people treat their depression most of the time. I went to school with kids and they was on meds from, second grade or whatever. Not saying that medication is the way, but therapy, whatever, stuff like that, it can be very helpful, but we usually don't go that route because it makes us feel uncomfortable, or we just think that's how white people do, or we think that we're strong and we, we can handle anything that the world throws at us, but we really are living, in a lot of stress all the time. James Baldwin said to be black is just to be in a constant state of rage all the time. And it really is true to be black in America and be conscious, because you have a bunch of people that are black in America and not conscious, and they have no idea of really what anybody goes through, and they don't care, and they don't. But the ones that are conscious and know what is going on, you're mad most of the time. You live in a constant state of like post-traumatic stress disorder all the time, and eventually it's going to catch up to you. So I have watched a lot of videos about this, and you know read a lot of articles about it. And I mean, depression affects people in a lot of ways, and like I was even kind of surprised at some of the ways that depression affects you. And in hindsight, I probably feel like, oh yeah, you were depressed at that time, or oh, such and such probably was depressed because they were acting like this or whatever, or so it just was very eye-opening to me. And it was just something that I couldn't pass over. Like a lot of times when I do these lives, it's just my spirit just tells me to discuss something that that it may not even seem important to me until my spirit wakes me up and says, oh, this is important, this is something that you need to talk about, go do the research so you can learn. So I'm learning right where everybody else, because a lot of these topics that I do research, some of them I don't have any knowledge of. Like I really didn't have any knowledge about depression and how it affects our community, and how black people can be their own worst enemy in not supporting people that have these mental health issues and mental health crises and stuff like that, no matter how big or how small. So these are just a few of the characteristics of depression that I found. I mean, when I first started out to do this, I really thought I was going to talk about single mothers and how, we can support single mothers and the shade single mothers get out there. But as I did this research, I realized that shit is black men too. A lot of the reason why these women are alone is because of the post-traumatic stress disorder and everything that the black man is living under too, and how they're raised and how their mother, might have instilled in them that, it's just a never ending saga of where this comes from. That's why I say it's like a generational curse. And I feel like if people know what it is and know the symptoms ahead of time and know ways to like help themselves, we probably could end it, or at least a lot of people could get more help, because these statistics were like off the hook. Wait, look, it says that the leading cause of death in Black girls 12 to 14 is suicide. Did y'all know that? I absolutely did not know that. I have a 12-year-old son, so that like really rang out for me, and like these parents, I'm sure they must love their kids, but they just missed that. They did not realize that their kids were struggling like that because I guess we don't recognize the symptoms, or I don't know. Like, I would love for somebody to jump in and like try to, tell me, what they think too. Like, leave, go in the comments and, say if you have ever experienced any of these things like this. We black people tend to think that mental health disorders are only for white people. When a school shooter gets caught, oh, well, he had mental health issues, whatever. It's like so much empathy for them, but for us, it's like, that could never be the reason why, you committed a crime. It's only for certain people to use that excuse. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like if we know more about the symptoms of it, we can pay attention, and like we can know in our friends and family when we see them having issues, we can notice it and maybe try to help them, or try to get them to talk, or try to get them to therapy, or whatever we can do to help. Because this other statistic that blew me away was the three leading causes of deaths of Black boys 18 and 24 is homicide, suicide, and accidents. So what the fuck? Our little kids, our youngest people are not coping. They're not coping. That's scary. And I did not know that. Did y'all know that? I did not know that. And that's very scary that our young people, like a whole generation, is just like mentally distraught. And we're not seeing it, and like, a lot of people would like to blame, the single mothers. Look, this was another I'm gonna share my screen and show this, because another reason why I feel like a lot of women have a lot of stress too is because I even see this in social media about how much they blame single mothers for all the problems with the Black society, never thinking like, wow, thank God this single mother raised a child, because their child would have no fucking body. But no, women, are really bashed, for the way that they raised their kids. And I feel like, maybe they aren't the best mothers because maybe they didn't have a good mother in the begin with, or maybe they did, like, again, it all goes to support. They don't have the support of like older people to help them and stuff like that. Like I said, I had my child at 40 years old. The lady that was helping me with my son, she was 50. One lady was sick. I had the support. I had older people to tell me what to do, and I have to say, I had a good family. I had a single mother, but my mother, she wasn't in them streets or nothing like that. My mother, she took care of us. And as I got older, I realized what she did was not easy. It was, and she, she did her best, and it's just really disgusting how today Black single mothers get, such a bad rap, and it's just really unfortunate, how they be treating us, and I feel like if you think they're doing such a bad job, why don't you help? I feel like don't turn your back on them, try to help them. And that's what I'm trying to do right now. So look, so this was an article. This was from January, I believe. Stop using Black single mothers as a scapegoat for society's ills. Okay, so Jason Wilcock, I guess he's some Black sports guy. I guess he saw a moment to get a little shine, so he threw Black women under the bus. But Jason Wilcox chose to target Black single moms during a conversation about Tyree Nichols, shifting the focus away from racism and policing in America. So, the boy Tyree Nichols, he was 29 years old. To me, that's very young, but the police beat him, and they beat him to death, and they were all Black men. So this guy says, he goes, where's his quote in here? Oh, he says, and he was on Fox News Live. He says, everybody involved in this on the street level was either 24 to 32 years old. Everybody. It was a group of young Black men, 5-on-1. Looked like gang violence to me, he began. It looked like what young Black men do when they're supervised by a single Black woman. Okay, and he went on and said more shit on other social medias and stuff like that. But my thing is, why is it the mother's fault? Because these were grown-ass police officers too. Like, he took the attention completely off the police officers and what they are trained to do and how they're trained to just like think they're at war against civilians and blame it on the mothers, not on those men as individuals, why they would do something like that. So shout out to Sierra, because she chimed in and wrote to Jason Whitlock, said, as a Black man, to get on national television and say something like this is irresponsible. A lot of amazing kids come from single mothers. For you to also undermine single Black women in the midst of this tragedy is so sad. This woman just lost her son. Do better. So good for her. I commend her for this. So this is what I'm saying. So a lot of Black single mothers, especially the younger ones, I don't ever really remember this being like such a big issue when I was young or whatever, but this is just like a new thing to hate on, young Black single mothers. Like, they got themselves into that position on their own. Like, I hear a lot of people say like, oh, well, she chose that bum or whatever. Well, I'm sure she didn't think he was a bum when she was messing with him. Maybe she really did like him and she saw, the good in him, and never thinking that, he would just leave her alone. Like, I've been doing hair for 30 some odd years, and I know for fact that most of the women that I know that are single parents never in their wildest dreams ever thought that they would not be with their child's father, and they might have even endured a lot of abuse from the motherfucker and everything in an effort to stay together with them, so they wouldn't be a single mother. That's what I know. And Holly Robinson also says something too about this. Where is that quote that she had? If I can find it. Oh, maybe it's more up here. Where's hers? I had everything all set up, and then it conked out, so then I had to go back and start all over, because I really wanted to say what she had to say. But let me just see. Okay, so in this quote, it says, it also happens to Black women who end up divorced or widowed. So they always make it seem like a Black woman is a single parent because she chose a terrible father. But they never mentioned the terrible father. You chose the terrible father, not the terrible father. But they never even think about like, oh, maybe the father passed away. Maybe he got sick. Maybe, they got divorced. It could be a multitude of things. So I feel that also is very depressing to the women too, because I feel that they feel like it just adds to their insecurities of not being enough and never going to be able to find the love that they want because they are, this single parent or whatever. I can't find her quote, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So, it's just, to me, it's just really sad what these young ladies have to endure. It's bad enough, they trying to give all the love they can to their kids, but they don't really get it back from society. And I also feel, like I said, in this research, I found that the men go through the same thing. So it's just like a vicious cycle of, not dealing with, your emotions and not taking responsibility and, stuff like that. It's just a cycle of it. And I feel like that's why both are in a position where one is not taking care of their kid and the one is taking care of the kid feeling bad about it and feeling, insecure and feeling less than and feeling, no love whatsoever. So just let's go back to the characteristics of depression, because I feel like that is very important, because I feel like if we can recognize what the problem is when it comes along, you'll see it. Like when I wanted to stop smoking weed, like I really researched it and just really tried to pay attention to how it affected me when I smoked it. You know what I mean? So I started noticing the heart rate, the breathing, all the negative things about it, and it made it much easier for me to stop doing it when I realized how it was affecting me. So I'm hoping the same thing for this. Now, there is a lot of different things that can cause depression, but these are just the main ones that I've seen just from all the articles and videos that I have watched the doctors say are like the most common. But appetite changes and eating more or eating less. So I know that over the pandemic, mostly everybody got fat, because why? A lot of people might not want to admit they probably were depressed, but I know I was damn depressed, because I wasn't working, and you're just home all the time, and that's all you're going to do is eat. I mean, I have to say we did have a lot of fun during the pandemic in the beginning, but then once the money starts running out, it's no longer fun anymore. You know what I mean? And I know for the kids, they get very bored, and it's just, everybody deals with it different. Some people get depressed and don't eat. Now, I have to really be going through something to not eat. I love to eat. Food comforts me. So if I don't eat, y'all know something's wrong with Shellie B, because if I'm not eating, something is really wrong, because I can always eat something. So also another thing was lack of concentration, lack of focus, very clouded decision making. Now that stuck out to me, because I feel like a lot of people was depressed when they hooked up in the first damn place, and that comes the bad decision making. You know what I'm saying? You might be feeling insecure, and this person showing you a little love, and you're already feeling bad about yourself, and this person makes you feel good, so you jump into this relationship with somebody that's probably not good for you, only because your decision making is off, because you're depressed, or because you have some type of mental disruption, or some type of lack, there mentally or whatever in your decision making, because of the depression. And that really stuck out at me, because I know we are all guilty of that. I know I've been in relationships like that. I've kissed many a frog, because I felt like, um that this person, like that I was, at the same or beneath this person, you know what I'm saying, that really was a loser. But because I felt insecure about myself, that's why I felt like this person was right for me. So it's just you're not processing properly when you're depressed, or when you have those issues from childhood and things like that are undealt with. They all come together in you making a dumb decision for yourself that you're going to have to pay for later down the line. Sleep changes, we all know about that. Like a lot of times when we have a lot of worries and stuff on us, we will lose sleep at night. I'm a person that wakes up at like 3 in the morning, then I'm up all day and night. I always just assumed it was because I worked in the film industry, and I was just used to getting up at those hours. But upon my research, maybe I'm a little depressed, or maybe because I don't sleep. I'm up at night. I have to say, in hindsight, I really pretty much most of my life was a person to be up at night, and I don't know if that is a form of depression or what that is, or I'm really not sure. I will have to really look at myself more for that. But it did stand out to me, because I always had these weird sleep issues, and then I would be up all night. And but in those hours, like I really like would think a lot, and I get a lot of epiphanies in those hours. So I never really thought of it as a bad thing, and it might not be a bad thing. But my point is by knowing the symptoms when they happen, you can be aware. Or like when somebody you care about is starting to sleep different, you will recognize it, and you can say, oh, yo, you good? Like, what's going on? Like, you want to talk about it, or what's up? You know what I'm saying? Like you're aware. And another thing that I really was very surprised about when it comes to depression that I did not know was that depression can cause body aches. And I did not know that. Like, we know when we get stressed out, we get like a tension headache. So everybody's kind of familiar with that. but I wasn't aware that it actually really does cause physical body pain, like joint pain and stuff like that. So maybe your bad back or maybe your joint pain that you have is, a symptom of depression. And maybe if you treat the depression, maybe those body aches might go away, is how I saw it. I know my body sure hurts. You just attribute it to being old, you know what I mean? But it could be your mental state that's causing you to be uncomfortable in your body. And mood changes, we see that a lot, in people, you know like I'll just use Kanye as an example because he said that he has bipolar issues. We hear of that a lot, but we don't really know what it is. But people have mood issues when they have depression or mental health issues or whatever. It could cause you to be moody. Like, I know when I'm under stress, I can be a little bit moody. Women are moody a lot of the time too, with PMS and stuff like that. So we do have those moments of being like moody and fatigued and things like that. So it's a fine line for women, if you are experiencing PMS or are you depressed or what is it. Now, I've been around people and seen them have those emotional disruptions, and it's off the hook. And I feel like a lot of the times we'll say, oh, that person is just crazy, or that person is like, they're ODing or whatever, they talking to me crazy. But a lot of times we don't, like I said, we don't know the symptom. So now we're mad at the person instead of feeling empathy, like, damn, maybe that person is going through something or they're having a mental disruption. Like, let's see if we can, try to get this person some help, and we don't do that. And I feel like in our community, we are very bad with supporting people when they're having these emotional trials, because I just look at Kanye, how everybody makes fun of him, how they made fun of, laughed at Tyrese because he was crying over his daughter and his baby's mother situation. Like, why is it anything wrong with a man being emotional and like, feeling depressed or sad because of their situation and stuff like that? Like, I really commended him because I felt like he was being honest and his emotions was honest and real. And I feel like maybe a lot of men feel like that, but it was just like meme after meme, and they just really dragged him for that. And I just feel like Black people, we are our own worst enemy all the time. Like, I feel like there Black men should have related to him, and I know y'all go through the same thing he's going through. So why would you be against him and make fun of him? You should have supported the brother. That's just how I felt. You know what I mean? And I mean, a man crying over his kids and child support, most of y'all Negroes know what that feels like. So to laugh at him, I didn't understand. Everybody makes fun of Will and Jada, but they've been together for decades. And now they've hit a little slump or whatever. They didn't get divorced. They're still together. You know what I mean? Are they perfect? Are their kids perfect? No. You know what I'm saying? But everybody's sitting out there acting like, their relationship is so much better than theirs. And it's not. I think of Bobby and Whitney the same way. Like, I've been a hairdresser most of my life, and I've heard the stories. All of y'all crazy out there. All of y'all relationships are a mess too. But you're just not in the public eye. Your man's cheating on you. You're sad and miserable. You're doing petty shit to him because he's cheating on you, and he's jealous of you, and he done punched you in the face, and he arguing with your mother and your brother and your cousin. I've heard every story. So why everybody acting like rated Will and Jada is such a big deal? I just don't see the big deal. It's like, she cheated on him. So what? Everybody acting like he wasn't doing his thing too. Like, he was doing his thing too, but now it's just out in the open, and I feel like they both looking a little silly, but they've been doing that. And y'all do it too. How many of y'all girls out there have a man been cheating on you the whole relationship, and y'all the same damn way? I just feel like everybody's a hypocrite when it comes to their relationships, their mental health, and things like that. We've all experienced feeling insecure. We've all made bad choices with relationships and all kind of things. Everybody has done that. Unless you're married to the same person that you met in high school, you've done it. If you've had several relationships and you're not married to none of these people, you have made a mistake and you have made bad choices, probably because of the way you were brought up, or probably because your mental state or your insecurities led you to do the wrong, stupid thing. And you, as far as either having a relationship what somebody abuse is, or having a baby with somebody that ain't gonna be shit. We've all done that shit. We've all done it. And another thing that surprised me about the depression is that it really does have an effect on the brain and leads to like physical changes in the brain, like for instance the loss of gray matter in the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex. So it's literally telling you that something happens to your brain. Is it because of the depression, or is it because of the brain that you're depressed? I still think the jury's out on that, and I'm not really sure about that. It's so many conflicting information, so much conflicting information about that. But it's definitely something happening in the brain that causes those mood swings, and people can't get a handle on that. You know what I mean? And it might really take medicine. Or I know for certain that I was just listening to a man today talking about you know omitting sugar from his diet helped him with that. So like it could be how we're eating, it could be the chemicals in the food that's causing a reaction on the brain, it could be drugs you take, it could be weed, it could be, I feel like a lot of the problem too in our community with a lot of these mental health illnesses is the freaking weed, because that is just doesn't do what it's supposed to do in the way we using it, and the chemicals and things they put in it. I could see if you had organic, some type of organic seed for cannabis, and you grew it and you ate it, or you made tea, but smoking it's just not, these chemicals that are in it, they do other things to the body and the mind, and it can probably affect your brain. So those things you have to look at too when you're dealing with depression and things like that. Drugs, alcohol, we see everybody, young people, they in the club drinking, Hennessy, all of that also can help you mess up your brain and make you depressed, and you don't know why, but it's the things you're putting in your body as well. They also say that brain inflammation, sadness, hopelessness, irritability, angry outbursts, guilt, worthlessness, fatigue, tiredness, low energy, concentration, decision making, and appetite changes. These are all symptoms. So like, can we please like pay attention to these symptoms and really try our best to pay attention to their loved ones around us, especially the young people, because those statistics for the kids is just unbelievable. 12 to 14-year-old girls, that's the leading cause of death of them is suicide. Why? Why is that? And I just feel like the parents are not really paying attention. And like, just from doing this research, it makes me want to pay attention more to my child to make sure, because a 12 or 14-year-old, you're not even thinking, oh gosh, look at this. This made me want to cry today when I saw this. Hold on, let me share my screen again. This is all about what celebrity is about. And I just really love Taraji for this.
Because there was a problem. My father passed away in '06. 2 years prior to that, my son's father was murdered here in Washington, D.C. That's trauma, not only for my son, but for myself. When he was becoming a young man, not having his important male figures to look up to call upon, questions about becoming a young African American male in America. How does that work? What do I need to do? We didn't have it. We in the African American community, we don't deal with mental health issues.
Thank you, Taraji. Thank you so much. This is what I'm saying. In our community, we don't deal with mental health issues. What she say, we didn't have that. If you're having an issue, everybody gonna tell you, oh, you all right, you're good, you strong, you're a queen, you got this, girl, you good. You know what I mean? If you're a man, oh, what you crying for, you punk ass? What you know what I'm saying? No, you got to suck it up. You hard. You got to be. It's like it's not treated at all.
We don't even talk about it. We've been taught to pray our problems away. We've been demonized for coming out saying we have issues, and we have trust.
What did she just say? Demonized for coming out about their issues. Look what we do. Look how we treated Kanye. Everybody hates Kanye. I don't know why. They think he's crazy, whatever, but he's a genius in a lot of ways, but it's like y'all just overrode that and not seeing, wow, maybe he's really going through something. Maybe he could use our support. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? It's like y'all just, a person that comes to you with a mental health crisis, you just throw them under the bus and that's it.
Issues. It breaks my heart to know that 5-year-old children are contemplating life and death. I just,
It's heartbreaking. I just told you the statistic. 12, the leading cause of death of young black girls 12 to 14 is suicide. The leading cause of death from boys 18 to 24 is homicide, suicide, and car accidents. What's wrong with the children?
sorry. That one is tough for me. When I hear of
This makes
kids
me cry
going
every time.
into bathrooms cutting themselves, you're supposed to feel safe at school. I am here using my celebrity, using my voice to put a face to this, because I also suffer from depression and anxiety.
Good for you for saying so. Good for you, Taraji. You know, I suffer from anxiety really bad. The first time I had an anxiety attack was when I first moved to New York and I was on the train and I felt like I couldn't breathe. I just felt like somebody had their hand over my mouth. It was so scary, you know. And from then, you know, I smoked weed ever since, thinking that that helped the anxiety, but it really didn't, you know. And like we self-medicate, we don't get the help that we need. And most people, millions of people, 17 million people suffer with depression. 17 million. And you're probably one of them.
And if you're a human living in today's world, I don't know how you're not suffering in any
Right.
way. I mean, if you turn on the news, that's PTSD right there.
Yes, ma'am.
We need each other. This is me reaching across the table, trying to lend a helping hand in the best way I can. We have to save our children.
That's right. That's right. Gotta save our children. No one cares. No one cares about kids. Everybody keeps talking about how much they care about kids. 8 million children go missing every year in the world. 800,000 go missing every year in the United States. 65,000 of those kids are black. I will always repeat that statistic. Now I'm going to repeat the statistic that 12 and 14-year-old girls, the leading cause of death is suicide. Who knew that? Who knew that? So you look at the little girls in your family and you know that some of them going to take their damn life at some point if you don't do something. You look at your young black men, 18 to 24 years old, and know that they are 9 times out of 10 depressed or have some type of psychological issue that's going to send them to their damn grave, be it homicide, car accident, or suicide. What is going on? You know, when I when I saw that, when I saw about that young girl, the 21-year-old girl, you know, I never thought that it was going to take me down this rabbit hole of, you know, of our mental health crisis in our community. You know, I see why she's crying. It's very emotional. You know, I'm a mother. You know, I would never want my child to feel like that. You know what I mean? And then you feel like that and nobody gives a shit. You know what I mean? And then the people, the celebrities that do speak out about it, they're chastised by their own fucking community. You know, they're made to think that they're crazy and look at this person and look at, you know, it's like we look on social media and think that we're so much better than everybody else. No, bitch, you're part of the 17 million that's fucked up too. That's why you on here making fun of somebody else suffering. You are something wrong with you. Whenever I see that Taraji video, it just makes me so sad. Like, I can't even believe. Look at Regina King's son. It's a problem. It's a problem because we don't get our people, we don't get the treatment that we need. You can't even have a discussion about it. You're just going to dismiss them as being, oh, they crazy. Or, oh, just smoke some weed. Oh, you need a drink. You know, just calm your ass down. We don't ever really think like that this person may need treatment. Like she said, you know, we're taught to pray everything away. party everything away, ignore everything away, and like it doesn't work like that. Like some people could really benefit from talking to somebody. You know what I mean? I appreciate my friends that offer me somebody to vent to, somebody to talk to. And it's not even just having somebody to talk to, it's having somebody help you find a solution to your fucking problem. A lot of times that could be it right there. That could be it right there. I just have to say, like, I was very blessed because I had my son so late in life. I was very established in my career, so money was never the problem. You know what I'm saying? I could just, pay a nanny and I could get some rest. You know what I'm saying? I always had somebody living with me to help me with my son, but I can't even imagine a young girl, especially you have more than one child and you trying to work. I used to see those poor girls, dropping their kid off in the morning before school, going after school to pick up their kid, and then when do you sleep? When do you take time for yourself? It's really hard. I had clients tell me, and friends tell me, oh, if you need me to watch your child, I'll do it. I never really had to take any of them up on it because I had the support. But you have to look at the people that don't have the support, and you can't beat up the people that's out here crying for help. And then, I feel like it's also that we have to add in here the spiritual element of it, because I feel like, look at the music. Look what it does to your mentality. It gives you a feeling of like hopelessness. It makes you feel, inadequate. You see all of these rappers, all of these basketball players, they're all rich, and you looking at your life like, I'll never get that. You have a false sense of reality of what life is, and those people are a small percentage of the society. 17 million people have a depression or some type of mental disruptions and stuff like that, and so do those ballers you see, and so do the rappers you see, and so do the strippers you see, and so do all of these people that you admire. They probably going through it too. It's an illusion. It's fake. Everybody got to take more time and check on each other. Like, this was unbelievable to me, the research for this, because I just really did not realize that it was a problem. Taraji said 5-year-old babies contemplating life or death. Why is that? Why is that? It's the imagery that they see. It's the hopelessness, of like, reality of like, what is the point of living? Like, what is, why am I going to waste my time living to have a life like that? I was just reading articles about and watching about, why like young people, they don't want to work and they really don't want to pursue a career because they feel like, I'd rather do nothing. I'll make less money doing nothing, but what's the point? It doesn't matter. My future doesn't matter. It's going to suck whether I work or not. Like, that's the mentality. That is the mentality that this world has created. And just like Taraji said, you turn on the TV, that's post-traumatic stress instantly. When I turn on Instagram, I see dead babies, people pulling babies out of the rubble. You know what I mean? I research something like that, and I see that young children, the leading cause of death is suicide for kids. They haven't even experienced nothing yet. Mind you, when they get to their adulthood, what is the statistic going to be? It's just going to be even more. It's like we have to do something, and we can't forget, the spiritual part of it all, because we're always taught, a lot of Black people are Christian, and they're always taught to pray, and Jesus is going to save you, and Jesus is going to help you, and pray. But we know that really doesn't really work. You know what I mean? And it just has to really change. And like I said, a lot of the reason why people they feel so depressed or worthless or hopeless is because society has this fake situation and setup of like perfection. They say a lot of perfectionists face depression because you're trying to reach something that you're never going to achieve. You're never going to achieve. These people that are sports players, it looks like their life is great and they're making a lot of money, but they worked hard. you're not going to work as hard as they did to get to that. And also, it's just a matter of destiny. That's their destiny to have that lifestyle. And I guarantee you that huge majority of them are miserable in that life. They have the money, but they don't have the true love, just like you don't have it. The money is the illusion that is something fabulous that's happening out there. I guarantee you, I work with celebrities all the time. Some of these people are the most unhappy, miserable people with all their millions of dollars. If they could just feel loved, if they could just feel secure in their self, they would be rich. So, I feel like it's just a lot of people's depression also is based on just like a false reality and not really being grounded in reality a lot of the time. And not really having anybody to like really check you and keep you on point and keep you grounded in reality. I feel like that is a lot of people's problem in life, is just not being in reality. This was very sad, you know. In spirituality, they call depression, but they have a different word for it. They call it acedia. So it's without carelessness, it's everything is a waste of your time. That's like all that was one of you know, the 8 bad thought patterns before they came out with the 7 deadly sins. There was the 8 thought patterns that were bad for your spirit, and that was one of them. Acedia. So, and they say acedia is the worst of all, feeling worthlessness and feeling like feeling less than, for whatever reason they consider that to be the worst. The other ones, of course, are gluttony, lust, greed, anger, vanity, pride, acedia, and sadness were the 8 bad uh, thought patterns. So I also feel like if we work on this as well as changing the way we think and changing the way we perceive society, which is completely fake, especially if you're getting your perspective off of social media, off TV and stuff like that. It is fake. You have to turn away from them things and look to yourself. You know what I mean? And really start to focus on, am I glutton? Am I lusting? This is the main thing where we fuck up at with relationships. And if we go back to single mothers, most of the time it's just lust. It's just lust and that acedia of feeling worthless and somebody showing you a little teeny tiny bit of attention and you running with it, because of lust and because of acedia and feeling worthless. So those two together. So like if that's why I say if you're mindful of the condition and you're mindful of the symptoms of it, when you are doing it, you can stop yourself, or you can recognize, oh, I'm just lusting after him. I don't really like him. No, I would never want to have a baby with him. Really look at him, really think about what you're doing, and don't be so fast in the moment. Think about when you see yourself being greedy and you're just doing thirsty shit to make money. Be mindful of what you allow yourself to do. One thing I had to learn in life is not to be so angry. I used to really be angry when I was younger, and I had to be mindful of that and really like think before I react. And now I've gotten to the point where I've kind of mastered it pretty good, where I really don't care. It takes a lot for somebody to really, really get me into a space where I'm going to really get angry. Like I get annoyed with people, and I'll tell you too, but like as far as like really getting angry and losing control of my emotions and those are all things that we can work on ourselves. Don't compare yourself to the people you see on social media. Don't compare you and your kids to somebody else's kids. Just worry about you and being the best you that you can be. And I guarantee you will get somewhere better. Like your frequency is going to elevate, and you're going to rise above that current situation that you're in, or that current frequency, that current low vibration frequency that you're in. You're going to rise above it the more you work on these things. The 7 deadly sins are Pride, as much as everybody's obsessed with pride these days, that's one of the deadly sins. So, we have to look at us, look, and stop looking outward, look inside of yourself, of what you can work on yourself, and recognize in yourself the mistakes that you could be making, that could be attributing to that low self-esteem, that could be attributing to your depression, because you're feeling hopeless because of something that you're allowing to control your thought processes, is what I found. You know what I mean? And you might not even need no damn medicine once you work on yourself and stop looking at social media and looking at this star and their kids, and what other people around you have and whatever. Because there's more important things to life than just the material things. And every struggle that you go through is not a bad struggle. It's a learning experience. And it's just so sad that the young people don't really have anybody to really guide them, because once their brain fully grows and they get out of their 20s and move into their 30s, like, they gonna mature and think differently on their own. It's like we have to, like, kind of help our kids get through that stage of awkwardness, that stage of uncertainty and not really understanding. And that's why I taught my son about discernment from a really young age, so he could recognize that, and taught him to trust his instincts and look more inwardly when he makes his decisions than outwardly to what everybody else is doing. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah, like envy, a lot of reasons why you feel worthless, because you envying somebody else's life. Like, your kids are not good enough for you. Your man is not good enough for you, because you want the man that somebody else had, but you don't even know their man. He could be a mess and even worse mental disruptions than the man you got. If you work with the man you got, maybe you would get somewhere, and raise your frequency together. But because you're looking at somebody else, that is causing a mental disruption. Like, I really believe that a lot of these things are the reason why people get depressed, is because they're comparing their life to some outward thing, instead of just working on themselves, and then using that work that they use on their self and transferring it to their kids. The mistakes and things that they have learned, or ways to make their kid feel better about themselves and stuff like that, and not being a source of insecurity for their kids and stuff like that. Gluttony, I feel like we're all greedy. In America, we're like the fattest people. We eat a lot of bad things for us. And I feel like as a community, we are terrible with that. And like, our people are the most overweight, have the most health issues and stuff like that. Like, these are all things. And I just told you that sugar and all these different things aid in the mind and the brain not functioning. So that can add to your depression and mental illness as well. So, like, these are all things that I feel like if we work on that first, I feel like that will cut a lot of people out of the depression and anxiety and post-traumatic stress right there, if they start really dealing with the real issues that they had. Sloth, being super lazy and all that stuff, and not really wanting to put the work in. Yeah, you want a rich baller, but do you know that person probably since the age they was 3 was working out and practicing and eating right and doing good in school? You have to do well in school in order to play professionally. You know what I'm saying? So they put their work in. You can have anything you want to do if you put the work, but y'all lazy and you're insecure and you don't really feel that you could ever measure up to those people that you're emulating, and thus that's causing you depression. But if you look more inward to yourself and be your best you, then I guarantee you're going to raise your frequency above where you're at. And you're going to raise your frequency above the losers that you're with. I guarantee. I did it. I did it. People always ask me why I never married. It's not that I didn't want to marry, but I wasn't ready to marry. And like, once I had my son, I did date a couple of times, and I just never really felt like I have to say, the guys that I did have in my life at the time when my son was small, and even to this day, like, I have a lot of male friends and stuff that help me teach me, things to tell my son to do. And I listen to them, and I've been very successful in listening to the men. of what I need to do to raise my son right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I try to make sure my son is in sports so he has a network of men to be with. I made sure my son learned how to fight so he could defend. These are all things that my male friends told me to do that I did not question. I just did it because they are men and they know what a man needs. You know what I'm saying? So I just did it. I put my son in boxing. He hated it. I put in my son in a lot of things based on the men in my life telling me what to do. Now, some of the men that I was in relationships with, love relationships, I really felt like they were great for my son. But for me now, I just never felt like they were supplying me with what I needed or whatever. And I just always felt like, I work in entertainment. I always felt there was a little jealousy could be there, different things. And then I just decided, you know what, forget these guys. Let me just focus on my son and me and my son. And then that's what I did. And like now my son is big now. He's starting to not be as needy as he was. So now I'm like more open to having somebody in my life now. But I had to take a break because I really just wanted to put the focus on my son. Because sometimes I feel like being in a relationship can really require a lot of attention. Like men, some of them, they really want a lot of your attention, as they should have it. They should have your attention. But when you have kids, you can't really, you can't really put the kids in front of the man. That, you have to, have a balance. And I just can never balance it. Like, I like being with my son. He's my top priority. And like now my son's getting bigger. He does a lot of things independent of me. And I feel a little different today. But when he was younger, I realized I really need to be there. I really didn't want to, him seeing any conflicts with people. I had already had enough conflicts with his father, and I just wanted a peaceful existence. And I was able to create that for him. And like I said, I always kept him in a lot of fellowship with other men. And that was very helpful to him because I know this is one thing mothers need to realize, that you're not a man and you really need to know how to know and have discernment of, when you need to step aside and let a man teach your son how to be a man. And I'm thankful for his martial art teachers, his Muay Thai teachers, his football, his basketball coaches, and they were amazing. That is the best money I have ever spent, and I just feel like it was good for his mental health as well. So that's something that y'all should look at. But there was one more article that I read. It's a little unrelated, but it made me just feel so good to see it. So I'm gonna share my screen one more time and show y'all this article, and I'm gonna get on out of here. Let me see, where's the article? Okay, here it is. So it's a short little article about the truth about Black fatherhood. I love this article so much because it talked about the stereotypes of Black fathers. And it was really interesting because they were saying that most Black men, now when they said that it was, I think it's a study by Pew, P-E-W, was a study by some group called Pew that they did. And they said that they found out, now y'all trust the CDC so much. Look what the CDC said. This is a 2013 report. Black dads, whether they live with their children or not, are more actively involved in their children's life than their counterparts of other races. For example, the CDC reports that Black fathers who live with their children are more likely than fathers of other races to provide physical care, which means bathe, diaper, feed for their young children, read to their children, and help their children with their homework, all on a daily basis, than fathers of other races who cohabitate with their kids. So that was very something because and I've read this and I researched this and I've read this in other articles that the media always is going to predict, show Black men in the worst light that they could possibly show. But the reality is that most of Black men take care of their kids, or they're in their kids' lives. They might not marry their baby mother, but they're there. And I can attest to the fact that Black men are very helpful with the kids, because I know when my son was young, I had two boyfriends at two different times, and they both were great with my son. And that's the only reason why they kind of lasted so long, because I really didn't like them for me so much as that I thought that they were great with my son. And I feel like they exposed him to a lot of things, and I feel like they helped him be much more well-grounded and more of a proper young man. And like he had a black male teacher 2 years in a row, and I really feel that that teacher really helped him become more mature and behave like a proper young man. When you're around women all the time, it's going to be a problem. So these are things that, when I think about our young people and their issues with the mental health and stuff like that, and the suicide rates and stuff, these type of things are going to help them. You know what I'm saying? If your child's father is not around, you have to find role models for your kids. It says the report also reveals that among dads who don't live with their children, Black dads are more likely to be involved in care, including reading, helping them with their homework, asking about their day, taking them to activities, than Hispanic or white dads who live apart from their kids. Non-residential Black fathers are also the least likely to report that they are not at all involved in the care of their children, including bathing, dressing, changing diapers, and playing with their children. So it's a bullshit ass lie that, that Black men don't take care of their kids. You know what I mean? They, like I said, they might not marry their child's mother, but they're there with their kids. You know what I'm saying? And I don't feel that is it necessarily the father's fault why they're not married. Again, it goes back to that cycle of, I seen one video where the brothers were saying that the reason why they never really married is because, they saw their mother wasn't married and they just figured that that's not something they should do. And they didn't really have nothing to compare a good relationship to. So they were like, really, why bother? And, they watch social media and they watch TV and they see that, these relationships don't really work and they feel like, why bother? So there it goes again into what the outside is feeding to you and is affecting your inside. And I feel like that's a form of mental illness as well, because it's affecting your brain. The outside is affecting your brain and it's not a real reality, and you're basing your whole life on a false reality. So these are the things that I feel like can really help. Let me see. And then this was also interesting. We know that fatherhood is an important goal for the majority of Black men. In a survey of over 1,300 Black men ages 18 to 29. Now, these are young men. 83% said that having children is somewhat very important to them. So that explains why Black men have more kids than everybody else. And, maybe it appears that they're not with their kid's mother because they don't choose to be married or whatever. That's the issue of another day of why we don't get married and why we choose not to stay. But 50% of all marriages end in divorce, not just Black people's marriages, white people too. All my white friends are freaking divorced. I don't know what y'all talking about. That's why I say it's so full of shit. They always try to make it seem like we're different in some way from everyone else. But Black men have a lot of kids because having kids to them is important. And culturally speaking, if you go back to ancient times, that was what it was. They had a lot of kids and they had many wives and they had lots of kids. So maybe it's just in their DNA. Maybe they could do a little bit better to afford those kids, whatever. But like historically speaking, it always was the woman that took care of the kids. It always was the mother that took care of the kids. Women today, I just feel like culturally speaking, the women always took care of the kids. They fed the kids, they did you. But now you got to go to work and do a little bit more. And it probably will be helpful to you if you had a little bit more help from the father, or even if it's not the father, your community. Because culturally speaking, we know in African culture, it takes a village to raise a child. So that culturally, that's why I say we're not living within our culture. So they're not going to understand half of the shit we be doing. You know what I mean? And you cannot look outside of us to think that something is so wrong with your life and your identity when really is nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with you being a mother at home, taking care of your kids. There's nothing wrong with you being a mother grinding, taking care of your kids. The father may not be there. He may be dealing with his own depression or his own, post-traumatic stress or whatever. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do that. So like we have to stop, and then, as much as my son's father irks me and we had a lot of issues, I do not talk bad to him for my son. I just tell him, daddy had issue, daddy has pain. I don't try to make my son grow up hating him, because I want my son to be a father one day. I want my son to have empathy for his father, because whatever he's going through, it's because of what we just discussed for this last hour of depression, or mental health issues, drugs or whatever. I know he got addicted to pain medicine because he had chronic pain. You know what I'm saying? Was the pain from a depression, or was the pain from, I mean, he did have real injuries, and he did have real issues, and he had major surgeries and stuff like that. And he got addicted to the pain medicine. So how you going to be mad at somebody for that? You might not really want to be around them because of the off balanceness, and they can't get it in check. But all in all, it's like we have to stop being so hateful and try to understand and try to not put that burden on our kids. Because these young people, there's no reason why they feel suicidal at 5. Like, what could your problem be? Now, this was very interesting. Black men and fertility. Now, this is a trip, because a lot of Black women get flack for being single parents, and then we just realized with this article that Black men having children is important to them. That's why there's so many of them having kids, because it is important to them. But then something gets in the way of them providing or being the best father that they can be. Again, it could go back to the depression. The 17 million people that have the depression and anxiety and don't know how to manage it is why they are having a problem. But listen what this says about Black men and fertility. The journey to fatherhood can be bumpier for Black men. We know that the infertility rate among African Americans is higher than that of other ethnicities. Specifically, semen health parameters are poorer among Black men. Now, I've heard that many times. Black men's sperm counts are low, different things like that. They smoke a ton of weed. That destroys it too. And it's, a lot of issues. It could be the depression. Because remember, we said the depression has physical effects on the body, and it does cause erectile dysfunction. The depression, I read different things. But somehow they're still making a lot of kids. Black men have on average significantly lower semen volume, sperm concentration, and total motile sperm counts. I'm reading without my glasses. I'm doing the best I can. Than white or Hispanic men. For Black men, partner with Black women or who are 2 or 3 more times likely to experience uterine fibroids and overall more likely to report infertility, the issue can be compounded. So right there to tell you, Black women have infertility issues, Black men have infertility issues, but they are still making a lot of babies because it's important to them. So now we just have to figure out how to make it where the mental health is equal with the desire to have these kids, because we do know that Black women have a lot of issues with fibroids and different things that get in the way, and this article also talks about how there's so much studies about white women and their infertility, white men and their infertility, but there's nothing on ours because we're just completely different. Genetically, we are not the same, and there's no studies or any information whatsoever to help with that, because I guess they don't really want you procreating in the first place, so. And it goes on to say centuries of institutional racism, including lower levels of wealth, income, environmental degradation, provider racism, other factors have produced stark health disparities between Black people and white people. Okay, and it goes on to say, African Americans are more likely to experience heart failure, stroke, diabetes, urinary tract infection, obesity, substance abuse, cancer, and a high rate of other health issues. So all of these things go right back into the depression thing, and why a lot of the time Black people cannot function highly with their kids, because we have all these other problems, and we're looking outside of ourselves at the rest of the world, and they're just completely different from us. They think different. They're completely different from us. So this is an issue that as a community, we need to deal with. We really need to talk about this more. And as a community, we need to deal with it. And with this video, I'm going to keep sharing this because to me, this is one of the most important ones I did. But I just feel like we need to really start recognizing this in our community, and recognizing that there is a problem, and recognizing that, our men, they want their kids. But why they cannot function and why they can't do what they have to do goes back to the depression issue, the post-traumatic stress, and everything that Taraji talked about. And we, like I said, we also, and it says in here, we also know the factors that contribute to these illnesses. So depression is one of these illnesses among many things that get in the way of us functioning at the higher elevation and frequency that we're supposed to, but a lot of it's by design, but lifestyle, environment, income, nutrition, activity levels, and more also contribute to these issues of fertility, especially in male fertility. A man's sperm health is strongly influenced by what he eats. You understand? So I said that earlier about the depression thing, in like the infertility, all this stuff. It all goes back to how we're thinking and how the world is projecting on us, and how what we're taking from ourselves on the inside and looking at the outside world is nothing like us, and that has culturally is nothing like us and doesn't even like us, and we're trying to match that. Thus, we have depression, obesity, cancer, all of these things, eating, not eating right, not being healthy, not teaching our kids how to eat right, giving them too much sugar, everything. We're all guilty of all of these things. And this is why it doesn't work. This is why our kids are out there wanting to kill themselves, because maybe it could be just as simple as they need to get more fresh air and they need to exercise. Maybe they need to stop eating fake food. Maybe they need somebody to talk to. Maybe they need, more vacations. Maybe, who knows? Only you can know by trying to talk to your kids and trying to figure out what the problem is. But I just feel like all of it, this article was so promising, because it just says what I really kind of felt already, is that we love our kids. We just have more issues than the average person that cause us stress, anxiety, and things like that. And you just give up and you don't know how to cope. And that's the things that we need to find the coping mechanisms. And I feel like the coping mechanism is to start with yourself and know the symptoms and know the scam and know what's being done to your ass, and really focus on not allowing that to happen. So a lot of these things we could work on more, as far as like how we eat, how we treat each other, not just blowing off somebody you care for when they tell you they're not coping. Oh, you bum ass nigga, you can't do. No, like, what's the problem? Like, how can I help? You know what I'm saying? Like, what can we do? Like, that's what I see. Instead of attacking the person, the mother's having a hard time. Oh, you just got to do it. You got to hand what you want to do. The father's not here. You got to do what you got to do. No, like, we got to offer help to each other and try to really get to the root of the problem. And I feel like this article just sums up what the problem is and how to correct it. So, this this was really eye-opening for me as a mother, and I'm going to really keep trying to, like, work on myself and work on all these things, because I really feel it really is important. Because that Taraji video, y'all need to watch that again, and keep watching it, because it really, when I saw it the first time, made me cry. When I listened to it this time, made me cry, because it's so real. Like, why are our kids out here killing themselves? What is it? They're so young. Their brains are not even fully developed to process a lot of what's going on, and that's the problem. And they don't have the support. Why? Because the mother's probably depressed, father's probably depressed, post-traumatic stress disorder, he's on drugs, whatever. It's like they don't. And like, we have to start taking responsibility for our own selves and figuring out how can we, break the matrix. And I know it's a struggle, ladies, but and for the men too, but I just feel like, we just have to have more patience with each other. And when you see celebrities out there telling you and you see them in a mental health crisis, just know that 17 million people are going through that. And just know that your kids are probably going through it. You're going through it. Your mama, everybody around you is probably going through that same mental health crisis of depression, of anxiety, different forms of mental illness and post-traumatic stress disorder. Everybody's going through it, especially in our community. And that you better talk to somebody. It's not hopeless. It's not hopeless. And I keep telling y'all, in here first. in here first, because before you can go even and go talk to somebody about your problems, you got to know yourself first. So if you start there and look at those quote unquote, I wouldn't, they call them deadly sins, but I just feel like everybody be doing that, and it should be a little bit more positive name for it, but I can't think of one right now. But look at it and really look at that and say, am I a glutton? Do I lust? Am I greedy, angry? Am I vain? Am I full of pride? You know what I'm saying? Am I sloth? Am I, do I feel worthless? Like, ask yourself those questions honestly first. Make a list, and then see if you can help yourself be mindful of those things, and see if you can help yourself like correct some of those things. Then go talk to somebody. Then go to therapy. Then see if you need drugs and all. Because I feel like once you do that, you may realize that, hey, I'm part of the problem because I'm trying to make myself match, and I'm mad at my life because my life doesn't look like somebody else's fake ass life that I see on social media. That's full of shit, and that those people probably are part of the 17 million that's going through what I'm going through. It's an illusion. It's fake. That's just like 1% of the population. The rest of everybody else is right where you're at and going right where you're at, and you're okay where you're at. And if you change your mentality, you will raise your frequency. The more that you get sucked into what's wrong with you, and the more you get sucked into how better somebody, you're lowering the frequency every time. You're lowering the frequency every time. I really try to tell myself that I don't deserve to suffer. I'm not fucking suffering, and that I can work on the things that I need to work on to make myself better. You know what I mean? And your kids need you. You can't conk out on your kids. You really can't conk out on your kids, because then who's left for them? You got to work on yourself so you could teach your kids. That's why the kids are just out here raising themselves. You're on social media all the time. You're at work. You come home. You're on social media all night. I look at some of these mothers out here. They trying to look like Meg Stallion, and these girls out here. These girls, it's an illusion. They probably have the same mentality that your ass got, and they need to work on themselves. You're seeing a fake ass person, all made up, all done up. In their real life, once you strip all that down, they're just as insecure as you. Their kids are just a mess as yours. So I feel like this is just a generational curse that we have. And like, we have to really get it together. And like, the first thing they want to do is tell you, oh, go to a doctor and get medicine. No. Try to work on yourself first. Recognize that you have a problem. Recognize that your life is normal. You're not missing nothing, by not being Meg Thee Stallion. You're not missing nothing by having a lot of money and being with a ball. You're not missing anything, because that's not going to make your life any happier. It might make your life happier for a couple of months till you get used to it and realize he gonna cheat on you and treat you as bad as the broke one did. You know what I'm saying? And maybe your broke one wasn't that bad. Maybe he was more loving and be a better father to your kids or whatever. So you have to really look at yourself too and see what the problem is. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the times, if you could just work on those things, those 8 bad thought patterns, I guarantee you're going to raise your frequency with that alone. And then the more you raise your frequency, the more you're going to draw better things to you. Like I tell my son to always keep your room clean, because it's going to give you bad vibes. Like, you want to raise your energy, try to, do the things in life that's going to keep your energy and keep you with good energy. Little things like that you teach the kids, and you practice it too. I see some people, you go in their house, it looks like a damn haunted house. It's dark, there's no sunlight coming in. They're depressed, the house is not clean, and all that stuff. That you transferring that right to your kids. Always let the sun shine in, get them some fresh air, get them out, talk to them, play with them, do stuff with them. Let them feel that they're loved and important. And no matter how you're feeling, you could always feel better if you believe you're worthy of feeling better. And like I said, just work on those bad thought patterns. Let's say them one more time. Acedia, that is listlessness and feeling worthless, which they say that is the worst of them all, which is very fascinating. Gluttony, lust, greed, anger, vanity, pride, and sadness. Because quite honestly, you know, I try to focus on what's going right and not what's going bad, because the more that you focus on what's going bad, the more bad things going to happen. The more that you focus on what's going good, the more good things are going to happen. So, you have to start training your mind and recognizing, so that you don't get dragged down on that low frequency. That's the problem, is that you're getting dragged down on a low frequency because you're thinking in the lower realm of reality, of like, oh, I'm broke, or oh my god, I'm fat, oh my god, you instead of saying that, you tell yourself, I'm eating shit, I'm eating good, I'm fat. You know what I'm saying? you know you got to see the better side of it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I don't feel like getting up to do things, but I know that I cannot be sloth. I have to get up and do it, because if I want to get on that frequency, rich people are not sloth. That's number one. So if you wanted somebody that's not broke, maybe if you're not sloth, maybe you will meet somebody like that. That's what I'm saying. So a lot of the reasons why we feel so down on ourselves and feel so hopeless is because we're just in a lower frequency, and we need to raise our frequency up to where we want to be with the people we want to be with. A person that's in a high frequency ain't coming down to get you. You're going to have to raise your frequency. So it could be just as simple as that. And it's just a simple mind process that can really help you do that rather quickly, you know? And then if you try to do that and you're honest with yourself, and stay based in reality, and you still can't get it together, then maybe you might need medication. But I just feel like the medicine sometimes, you see those advertisements for those antipsychotic meds and all that stuff. They tell you, in children, it caused them to be more suicidal. So why would you want to take something that's just going to intensify the symptoms? Is my suggestion. I would definitely say, start there. You know what I mean? There's lots of herbs and different things that you could use to try. Like I always just say, try to start, have a natural, try the natural solution first. I've been on here for almost an hour and a half. Have a natural solution first to your problems, and then, you know, if you're still struggling, get some help. But a lot of the times, a lot of these things can be corrected with how we eat and how we think, and the people that we have around us. Because if you have some dumb hating ass person that's on a low frequency with you all the time, they're just dragging you down on their low frequency. And if you don't have any people on a frequency above you, stay by yourself. Stay by yourself and work on yourself. Work with yourself. Spend time with your kids. Don't worry about these Negroes out here. Spend time with your kids. I guarantee you, just being with your kids, your frequency is going to go up more. Just spending more time with your kids and doing things that they enjoy is going to bring your frequency up. I always have so much more energy when I spend time with my son and doing stuff fun with him. That's going to keep you young. That's why elderly people, they like to have their grandchildren around, because that keeps them young and keeps them, you give them vitality and make them run around and keep. So, you just got, like I said, if you're mindful to the symptoms, you can correct the problem. But as long as you're not mindful of it, you can't correct the problem. So I just want everybody to know, I have been through these things. I have felt depression. I definitely have felt anxiety, and I feel much better today because I stopped doing a lot of the things that I was doing to cause it. You know what I mean? I stopped trying to, you know, have this career because, I see other people in entertainment. I want to be like that. I stopped trying to care about, my body looking like somebody else's body. My kids being like somebody else's kid. Oh, my kid doesn't have the clothes that another kid. Those are the things that cause you the anxiety and the distress, because you thinking about shit that's not even really happening. You're making up situations in your mind and you're letting them stress you out. And we really have to get our minds right so we can raise our kids, because 5-year-old kids committing suicide, leading cause of death in 12 and 15-year-olds is a suicide. Leading cause of death for Black boys 18 and 20 is suicide. That cannot be. That cannot be. So, you guys, I've been on here for a long time, and my baby's about to come home. My little son's about to come home from school. I wasn't even expecting to be on here this long, but it's just such an important issue, and it just, it really, really was definitely, red pill. It was a trip down a rabbit hole, 100%. But, after I went down a rabbit hole and I came back to the surface, I really realized that a lot of our problems comes from outside entities affecting the inside, and us longing for things that the outside sources are telling us that we should want, when they really are not that important. And and that you're just fine where you're at. The people that you're trying to emulate and the life that you think that you should be having is fake. I take it back to the beginning with this young lady that committed suicide. She was miserable because she felt that she probably should have a different lifestyle, probably because of what she sees on social media, probably because what she sees on TV. you know her life was not good enough for her because somebody told her that you have to have this Disney idea of like, oh, I have to be married, or I'm less than, or oh, I have to be this size, or I'm less than, or oh, I have to be with this type of man, or I'm less than. All of those things is what add to the depression and anxiety. And when it comes to anxiety just comes from worrying about the future too much. So don't think about the future, stay in the moment. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. um I talked so much today, I feel like I need to rest my mouth. But it was nice being on here with you guys today. And again, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. I'm going to keep on going. And like I said, as I find situations and issues to talk about, I will talk about them. I really would love to have more lighthearted things to say, but I just feel like our community is in crisis. The whole world is really in crisis though, but like, our people have this different issues that I feel like we're just not addressing it. And I would just really like to express, that it's all fake. Everything that you're trying to be is a false reality. If you're comparing yourself to the people you see on social media, if you compare your lifestyle to what you see on social media and on TV and stuff like that, it starts with you. You build the person that you want to be, with those thought processes I just told you. Build who you want to be and raise your frequency up to other people like who you want to be. It can be done. It can be done. All right, y'all. So I'm out of here. Like, share, and subscribe to this channel. I love y'all. I am Shellie B, and I will see y'all next time.